Hello, this is David Ferguson from MLC CAD Systems, and today I'm just going to show you some of my personal best practices when using stock models in Mastercam 2023. And stock models are something that we're tending to use a little bit more these days, mostly because of their increased functionality, but also because they're just very convenient to use if I follow a couple simple basic principles or best practices. So I've got a part on my screen here, and I've actually got this designed and set up to work through multiple setups. I've got a couple of view sheets. This is my setup one, basically the part suspended in a stock boundary, just a bounding box. And that is sort of my basic stock definition to get started, or at least the dimensions of the stock I'm going to be using. On my second view sheet, I've got the part flipped over and held in some soft jaws, and of course a new plane created for that. And what I'd really like to do, and of course one of the big benefits of using stock models, is that I can transfer what I've done on one setup to a second setup without really having to create a lot of extra stuff. I can keep sort of everything centralized around a single part. There's a direct transfer again from the material I've removed from, say, an op1 to an op2, and it takes a lot of that guesswork out of what that second setup is going to look like out on your machine. So, getting back to my first setup, and again, I'm just using view sheets down at the bottom. I've captured the plane that I'm using. I've captured the levels that I'm using. So switching back to my first setup, I want to go ahead and generate that first stock model. Now, one of the things that you're going to run into, or one of the things you definitely need to take into consideration when using stock models in Mastercam, is the fact that all of my stock models, and if I have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, however many you're going to have, they all need to use the same plane. If my stock models are switching planes between each model, they don't line up together. So one of the first best practices is to make sure that you are using just the same plane for all your stock models. And an easy way to keep track of that, and this is just a great tip, whatever plane I'm using for that very first stock model, in this case my setup one plane right there, I'm just going to use that for all my stock models. But to avoid any confusion as to which plane I end up using, I'm just going to make a duplicate of that initial plane and use it just for those stock models. So in my plane manager, I'll just right click, go ahead and duplicate that plane, and I'll go ahead and give that a better name. I'll just literally call that stock models. And now there is, and I'll try to spell it right, there's literally no confusion to me either today, tomorrow, or whenever I'm working on this part as to which plane I'm supposed to be using for my stock models. And it doesn't matter whether I assign a work offset to it or anything like that. This plane only exists to be used for stock models. It is identical in every way, shape, and form to my sort of first initial plane that I'm programming with, and just all my stock models are based from that. So I'm going to pop over to my Toolpaths manager, and I've got my insert arrow there, and I'm just going to use stock models exclusively with this part. I'm not using a traditional stock definition here. I don't have to. Stock models can sort of fill that gap, so to speak. So there we go. I've got my insert arrow ready. I'm just going to put my first stock model right there. I'm on the correct plane. So I'll pop up to my Toolpath manager up top. I'll find my control for stock models, and I'll go ahead and give that a left click. Now, the first rule, and this is a rule for stock models, not a best practice, but an actual rule, I do have to name that stock model something. And in Mastercam 2023, they're nice enough to simply put the number 1 in there in case you forget to give it a name. If there is nothing in that name field, the stock model will simply fail to generate. So I'm going to go ahead and call this initial stock. Oops. And then for myself, and again, this is a best practice, I usually like to give something in that name that helps me indicate or locate sequence for that model. So in this case, I'll just use the letter A. And my second stock model, whatever I call it, will simply have the letter B at the end of it. And that way, when I see them all together, A, B, C, D, E, F, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I kind of know automatically which ones come which, or which ones come where, I should say. Now, one of the best practices I can offer you with stock models is stock models are toolpaths. They do appear as toolpaths on your screen, and therefore they can sometimes be a little intrusive or a little in the way. And of course, as we all know, if you can't see something in Mastercam, it makes it very hard to select it. So I like to know sort of that I'm looking at a stock model. And if you use enough stock models along the sequence of your programming, eventually those stock models are going to start to look a lot like your part. So what I want to avoid are having stock models that are similar or the same color, really, as something else on my screen. So I tend to think in very bright, almost offensive colors. So I'll just go ahead and make this stock model a very bright blue so that when it's on my screen, I know exactly what I'm looking at. Now, here for the stock plane, this is where I'm going to make that change. This plane would work. It is identical to the one labeled stock models, but, again, to stay sort of with my idea, I'm just going to go ahead and call that my stock model plane there. That's the one I'm going to use. And then I'm just going to go ahead and define this very simply. Since I haven't defined stock, I can't use my stock setup button to import my defined material. I'm just going to go ahead and use a select corner function here and just kind of zoom in and use that bounding box to go ahead and define the X, Y, and Z dimensions of that model. And for this first model, there are no toolpaths being applied to it. So I'll check my source operations, make sure I don't have anything selected in here. This is literally just my brick. And when I generate it, there is, of course, that brick of material that I have. And, of course, it is controlled like a toolpath, so I can toggle that on and off as I want to. Now, I've already written an OptiRough for this side of the part here. And so what I'm going to go ahead and do is just move my bump arrow down and get ready to sort of do my second setup, right? So I'm going to change my view sheets. I'm going to turn that toolpath off, of course. I'm going to change my view sheets over to my second setup. And here is that second setup, that part having been machined, flipped over and held at a secondary setup, just a vise with some soft jaws. And to program this side, I really, really do want to know kind of how much material I left behind. So I'm going to generate a second stock model. And of course, the part has stayed in the same place. My planes have changed. I'm obviously inverted from where I was before, so I can work on the reverse side of the part. And I just need to generate a model for that side. So I'm going to, again, make sure my insert arrow is in the correct place. I am not concerned where my planes are set right now. They would be set on that second setup. And if I allowed the stock model to generate with that plane, the stock model would not align to the previous one. Because, again, they all have to use the same plane. And that's super critical for that. So I'm going to go ahead and fire off up top another stock model. I'm going to go ahead and call this setup 2. Or setup 1 roughed, or whatever you want to call it. Setup 2, I'm just going to call that B. I do sometimes like to use different colors for different stock models just to see some variation. But again, it'll be a very bright, almost hard to look at color, so I know it's on my screen. And although I have the initial stock shape here initially defined, and that just carries over from the last one, I can also, as I get further down the road, want to apply just the previous model. So the initial stock shape for this model would just be whatever the last stock model sort of ended as. And that way you can sort of link and string all your stock models together. So if you go back and update an earlier toolpath, it does filter down to all the remaining models. So I'll go ahead and turn on that. I'll use initial stock A. This is B. Again, another reason why those letters help me with sequence. So that's my initial starting shape. Before I forget, of course, and I just about did, I do got to change that stock plane because, of course, it is going to use whatever tool plane I happen to be using. So I'm going to go back and just say, hey, I'm still using, for all my stock models, the plane I've labeled for stock models. That way everything lines up and there's no confusion. Your stock model doesn't end up half machined or standing on its side or off in space at times. I'll then go to my source operations and I'll go ahead and select whatever toolpaths I want to apply, again, to that initial stock shape. And then I have to look at my path tolerance value here. With path tolerance, that's basically the resolution of the model. And stock models are stereolithographic models, so the looser that tolerance, sort of the rougher that model can look. Depending on the complexity of your part and your machine surfaces, you may have to crank that down significantly. Usually I tend to drop mine down to about 2 or 3 thou, and that makes the model look pretty reasonable. So again, just tightening up sort of the overall resolution of the stock model. So there's my path tolerance, selected my toolpath. I'll go ahead and green check, and I should generate a pretty reasonable looking model. And there we can see, obviously, on the first op, I left myself a bit of a top hat to deal with. But the models do align. I have a great representation here to start my second operation to really just kind of see what I'm working with, And of course I can use that in Verify, I can use that in my machine simulation. It's just an easy way, generally, to sort of bounce between multiple setups and make sure that the stock is consistently in the same place with the correct toolpaths applied without, again, really any confusion or guesswork involved. So again, just to reiterate kind of my best practices for stock models, use a dedicated plane for those models, just usually a copy of whatever your first initial plane is going to be, whatever that may be. Use very bright colors for those stock models. So again, when they're on your screen, you know exactly what you're looking at. There's no question that that's my stock model. It's purple and blue. And then finally, of course, take a look at that stock model tolerance, what they call path tolerance. If the stock model comes out looking a little rough, a little bumpy, in some extreme cases, your part is sticking through complex shapes, you may need to lower and tighten up that number to just make that model conform to that complex machine surface just that little better. So just some basic tips to help you kind of get your stock models just a little bit more in line with the rest of your programming.